like it is. 4 major conclusions after 38 years of study and investigation. First, that the evidence is overwhelming that planet Earth is being visited by intelligently controlled extraterrestrial spacecraft. In other words, some, underline the sum 27 times, some UFOs are extraterrestrial spacecraft. Most are not. Most isotopes aren't fissionable either. I don't care about those. Second, the subject of flying saucers represents a kind of cosmic Watergate. By that I mean that some few people in the governments of the United States, France, England, Canada, Germany, have undoubtedly known since July 1947, and I haven't talked about the second crash west of there, or how I got involved in this in the first place. A few people within the governments have known that the planet has been visited. You don't keep secrets by telling everybody. The need-to-know concept is paramount. Third, none of the arguments made against conclusions 1 and 2 by the debunkers of the world, including my University of Chicago classmate Carl Sagan, stand up under careful scrutiny. Their arguments sound very good until you check them against the evidence, and then they collapse. And finally, fourth, this is the biggest story of the millennium. Visits to planet Earth by alien spacecraft, successful cover-up of the best data, the bodies and the wreckage, for almost 49 years.
Why are you interested, and who are you to know so many things about that, and to look like as if you believe all this story? Means you believe it.
Well, okay. I spent 14 years in industry working on canceled government-sponsored research and development programs, nuclear airplanes, fission rockets, fusion nuclear rockets, nuclear power plants for space. I worked for major corporations, General Electric, Westinghouse, General Motors, TRW, Aerojet General. I have been, right from the start, interested in far-out technology, advanced technology, space travel, things like that. And I've worked on programs that, like, we operated nuclear rockets this big at a power level of 4,000 megawatts. We operated aircraft engines on nuclear power. And about 1961, at the University of California Library in Berkeley, huge library, I ran across a privately published version of Project Blue Book Special Report number 14, the largest official scientific study ever done for the United States Air Force Project Blue Book. They had data on 3,200 sightings investigated by professional people spending full time, categorizations, quality evaluations, charts, tables, graphs, maps, 240 of them. I was in data heaven because data's my ballgame. I like taking lots of information, making sense out of it.
Atomiste et ufologue, Stanton Friedman ne pouvait que se passionner pour le dossier Roswell. Le 8 juillet 1947, l'armée américaine annonce qu'un ovni s'est écrasé à Roswell, puis se ravise. C'était un simple ballon météorologique. En 1978, des ufologues affirment que la soucoupe de Roswell était bien réelle. En 1995, un producteur anglais, Ray Santilli, révèle qu'il possède le film des autopsies de 2 extraterrestres trouvés à Roswell.
I have met twice with Mr. Santilli in England. I was part of the Fox Network show in the United States. I looked at the footage over and over again. I have found that every time I checked on Mr. Santilli, he wasn't telling the truth. In the first interview, he said that Harry Truman was clearly visible in the footage. Nobody has seen President Truman. He also said they had established that Truman was in Dallas at the time of the autopsy. I said, oh, you checked with the Truman Library? He said, yes. Well, I checked. According to the Truman Library, Truman was not in Texas or New Mexico in June through October 1947. When I confronted Mr. Santilli with this the second time around, he said, oh, it was in conjunction with his trip to Ottawa. Ottawa is the capital of Canada, straight north of Washington, D.C. Dallas is 1,100 miles southwest. The trip to Ottawa in June was by train and was a very public trip. Truman got off the train. He met with the Canadian Parliament and so forth. As you know, a French researcher, Nico Maillard, has located the story about Jack Barnett. Because when I first met with Mr. Santilli, he told me the cameraman's name was Jack Barnett. And he had filmed Elvis Presley, and that's why Santilli was talking to him, and he said, I've got some other material and so forth. Make a long story short, The first film of Elvis was shot by Jack Barnett. He was a cameraman with Movie Tone News and then NBC. He was never in the military, which is part of the story. He died in 1967. I have a copy of his death certificate. So that doesn't, it's not true. Mr. Santilli didn't buy the rights to the film from Jack Barnett. He bought them from the owner of the film, who was a lawyer right now. Then I was told in San Marino, the name is really Jack Barrett. Mr. Maillard located the story on Mr. Barrett. He was in a Hollywood union for 35 years, and he had been in the military. Mr. Barnett had never been in the military, even though the story was he was in the military for many years. Mr. Barrett, however, was not a cameraman, got out of the military in December 1945 and died in August, even though some of the boosters of this story are saying we're going to interview the cameraman. So I have done everything I can. I have talked to many, many people. I've been to England. I can find no reason whatsoever of any kind to relate what is in that footage to Roswell, crash saucers, alien bodies. I have 2 eyewitnesses to the bodies, their testimony. They both say small, big head, practically no nose, mouth, ears, big eyes, 4 fingers, no thumb. Now, as you will recognize, the body in the film is heavy, not skinny little guy. There are quite visible earlobes and nose and mouth. There are 6 digits, even though in one frame you can see that it's like the hand had been chopped off, meaning attached on. There's a wedge of space there. Now, Mr. Santilli's story has evolved. Now he's saying that the cameraman says, whoever this mysterious cameraman is, if there is such a person still alive, that the crash took place May 31st in New Mexico, over near Socorro, New Mexico, 160 miles from Roswell. So what we have here, I believe, I'll call it a fraud. Somebody is trying to pass off footage. I don't know whether the footage is of an earthling with a genetic defect of some kind, or whether it's a Hollywood special. There are people who make bodies. That's their business. 8 of 9 of those people, when asked, said it's a phony body. They could tell you how to make it. Whichever it is, I don't know yet. It could be a medical school autopsy on file of a strange earthling. Certainly, one thing that really bothered me, 2 things. I worked under security for 14 years, and I cannot believe any cameraman would have been allowed to carry away a whole bunch of cans of film. Security didn't work that way. Secondly, as a physicist, I cannot believe that people having the first opportunity to autopsy an alien body would not be making any measurements. There's no scale, there's no measuring device. They go about it routinely. This was a unique opportunity. And what are those suits for? There's no breathing apparatus seen. They keep you from seeing the identity of the supposed doctors. Why is the man behind the window, presumably safe from whatever is bad, why is he wearing a facial mask? To protect him against what, other than you can't see his face? So I have very strong doubts. Now, I will have to say one good thing. Because of that footage, which has been shown in 32 countries, there has been a great deal of public discussion about UFOs that would otherwise not have occurred.
À l'évidence, si un ovni s'est écrasé à Roswell, et à plus forte raison, si des extraterrestres morts ou vifs y ont été récupérés, des rapports ont dû en faire état et doivent être conservés dans les archives officielles, ont pensé nombre d'ufologues. Ils ont aussitôt demandé à consulter les documents secrets.
These are 2 released CIA UFO documents. You can read 8 words there, 9 words here. Totally useless words, info, location, date, things like that. Now, there are 2 further points. Anybody who says that agencies of the United States government are not withholding information about flying saucers are either lying or ignorant or both. I have been challenging some of the debunkers to get any of the NSA documents, 156, they say so. And it's been 10 years. Not one so far. Or the CIA documents, the rest of them. Now, some people say, look, 14 documents over a lot of years. Obviously, it wasn't very important. That's not true. I talked to the man who forced the CIA to release its information about mind control experiments. Illegal use of drugs like LSD and not telling the people and not with permission, nasty stuff. His first release from the government was 400 pages. He was a lawyer in Washington, so he could go back to court easily. He threatened them. I'm going to go back to court. I know there must be more. There's internal. We'll look again. They found another 400 pages. And he made more noise. They found another box and another box and another box. To make a long story short, he wound up getting 40,000 pages. The first release was 1% of what he eventually got, and I have it on good authority. He still didn't get it all. So what we're dealing with here is a clear situation where agencies of the United States government are absolutely withholding information. And as a matter of fact, an agency of the United States Air Force, the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, wrote a memo about me saying we have reason to believe that all of our units, some or all of our units, and there are over 120 units of the OSI, would be receiving a Freedom of Information Act request from Stanton Friedman, they gave my address, concerning UFOs. If such a request is received, do not, repeat, do not respond as required by Air Force Regulation 12-30. Instead, respond as follows. All such requests must be submitted to the main office of the OSI. Now, if you get the regulation, what they're supposed to do when they get a request is find the information, send it to headquarters for review, and notify the requestor that they have found the information, thus revealing the existence of the information. What they were telling their units to do is don't tell them anything other than to talk to us, and we can tell them anything we want. Now, if there is nothing to cover up, why do you tell your people to violate their own regulations? I worked on classified programs for 14 years. I will absolutely guarantee you that secrets can be kept. I helped keep some. Furthermore, I've been to 15 archives, all kinds, in the United States and one in Canada. I have never yet seen special compartmented information. That's this extra word after the top secret, ultra, umbra, magic, whatever. Does that mean there isn't any such material? No, I asked at the Eisenhower Library, do you have any special compartmented information? Yes. This is in person, so we couldn't lie very easily. How much do you have? About a drawer full, file drawer full. Can you search it for certain terms, magic, MJ12, things like that? No, it would violate security. So unless one has access to the special compartmented information, one will not get to the secrets. And despite all my looking, I have never seen any such material except that affidavit, and we don't even know what the word is after it. So are secrets being kept? Absolutely.